In this video I'm going to show you how to use your endless zip to make a simple scatter cushion. As you can see, I've got my two pieces for my scatter cushion, front and back, cut the same size, and my zip that I've cut, my endless zip that I've cut longer than the scatter cushions with that tail piece, and the head of the endless zip that I'm now going to add to that zip the same way I showed you in the last tutorial. There you go, you can see the head has been added on. For the purposes of this tutorial, I have used a zip that doesn't match my fabric and thread that doesn't match my zip so that you can see it clearly. What I've done at the end here is I've just put some stitches straight through the teeth of the zip. The purpose of this is that should you accidentally pull the zip further, it won't fall off the end. Should it come off the end, you can just reattach it, but these few little stitches here will stop that happening. With your fabric right sides together, on the end where you're going to insert your zip, I've drawn these markings to show you where you're actually going to stitch. About from one end, about 2 fingers or 1.5 centimeters, I've drawn this blue dot, and then the same on the other end. From the edge to the blue dot, you're going to use your normal stitch length, stitching the two pieces together and ending at the blue dot. You could always go back and forward a bit there to reinforce that. Same on this side. Then leaving about 1 finger space, I've drawn this green dot, same on the other side. Between these 2 green dots, you're going to use the baste stitch of your machine, the longest stitch length, and that's for easy removal. Okay, I've taken this over to my machine, and with bright green thread I've done my small stitches there and my base stitch that's easy to remove between the 2 green dots, leaving the gap between the blue and the green dot. Okay, so now I've opened it out, right sides down. This is the seam that I've just stitched. There are my basting stitches in between there, and then I'm going to place my zip on top of that line. And I'm going to keep the head of my zip. This is why I told you to cut the zip a bit longer, so that I can keep the head of my zip off my item, so that I can stitch here without the head of my zip being in the way. Now I'm going to take this over to my sewing machine. I'm going to pin this in place, and with my zipper foot on my machine, I'm going to stitch along the sides right here next to the teeth on either side. Just pin it into place and then stitch down, first one side and then the other. Okay, so you can see here where I've stitched using my zipper foot on my machine, first down the one side, then down the other. There's the little gap that you left in the basting stitch. That's where you're going to get your quick unpick in, and you're just going to quickly remove your basting. Once you've removed all your basting stitches with your quick unpick, just go back and remove all the little threads that it has left behind. Now you just wiggle the head of your zip down so that it's between the 2 blue points, the 2 blue dots, so that you'll actually have the head to have a working zip. Now fold your scatter cushion back in half, flattening the zip to one side. You're going to use your normal stitch length to stitch down one side, across the top, and down the other side. So what I've done is I've flattened out my zip to one side, stitched all the way along, leaving your seam allowance, and straight over. Don't worry about stitching over this, your machine will go over it quite happily. There's no metal in there, there's just a little bit of plastic in the teeth, and the machine needle is quite happy to go through that. So just stitch through that, and the same on the other side. Then trim your corners off so that when you turn it inside out you get a nice neat corner. I can also now trim off all this excess of zip here. I don't need any of that anymore. The same on the other side. You can trim that off. And you can see I've trimmed my corners off so that they're now at a diagonal. I've now turned my scatter cushion the right way around. There's my zip at one end, nice and hidden. And so here you can see your completed cushion. Zip in the bottom, which if it was the same color as the fabric it would show up even less. And well done, you've finished your project.